couple days ago from out riding my bike in the cold weather, getting sweaty, but now I'm ready. Turn off my phone and we are gonna do some track feedback and play tracks from the Mixitecture Discord server. So what this is all about, if you're just joining us, everybody needs feedback on their music all the time. You can produce at home, you can produce by yourself, but it's so much better to bounce your ideas. All right. It's so much better to bounce your ideas off other people and just ask some basic questions like, hey, does the track flow? Does it feel right from start to finish? Or do you notice anything in the mix that I didn't hear that you might hear in your monitors or in your room, or something that's, you know, your production space? Everybody has a different space, and it's really useful to have your track play through other people's systems and get feedback on how it sounds to them, because you might have a bass problem that you don't know about. So tweaking in the settings. So what we do is we play tracks that are in progress, and the whole idea, I cannot say this enough, is to export a test mix before it's done. So we're not reviewing professionally mastered finished album tracks. That's not what this is about. What we're doing is reviewing tracks sometimes on the first day of creation, or a week into it, or after version 2, or maybe it's like somebody saying, hey, I'm ready to get this mastered. I'm emotionally done with the track. It's where I want it to be, but I need help to make sure all the details are taken care of. And so that's what we're listening for. 3 basic things: sound design, song structure, and the mix. Sound design is all about having original sounds that change over time to create like little events in the track that are interesting to listen to. Song structure, obviously, you gotta have a climax where the track goes up, takes us on a journey, and comes back down at the end. And then the mix has to drop some bass. That's basically the only thing that has to happen. I mean, of course, we want stereo width, we want crisp high end, we want dynamic range, we want a nice sounding track, but it's electronic music. We're listening for the low end and the bass. So right now I'm just playing some Matt Schultz dub techno to bring us in. We got Shepherd's, Todd Mavis is not gonna be here right now, and hopefully we're gonna have Paraverse Jeannie, because her track is up on deck first. So if you're watching this, the chat is on YouTube. That's where the stream is going through, so say hi on YouTube, let us know you're here. I'm in cosmic space in the background. And let's go into screen share. Thank you, Matt Schultz, for the intro. And let's get the Spectrum Analyzer up. I love Spectrum Analyzer so much. It really made track feedback a lot better when we started watching the music instead of just hearing it. So this is Jeannie with track Paraverse. A track called Hookup. Our friend Paraverse, the producer, getting ready for release. Did my audio change itself? We're gonna restart this track. Sorry about that, Jeannie. Luckily, I caught it right away. No glitches. Reset. There we go. What's happening? Love the voice. Vocal sounds great. The drums are nicely placed in the mix. That feels good. I gotta pause. There was a moment when the drums were coming in, they changed to a faster rhythm kind of soon in the track. So we got intro right here. Totally chilling, right? Nice, relaxed beat. Oh, Jeannie's here, yay. And then the drums started faster right there. I could use a little bit of a transition sound, like a cymbal crash or something, if you could just maybe add something simple to accentuate that change into the faster hi-hat pattern, because the intro is slow and then the vocal is kind of the same. It doesn't clearly go from like pre-chorus into the first verse or something. So right there when the hi-hat speeds up, if you could add in just a little crash, like a sleepy, like whoosh, right at yeah, that was cool that you did a filter sweep to close the beats down and then open it back up and have a little crash, maybe just one little extra little spice on top. That'd be cool. Paul, no, I'm not putting the banner up because you can see the track name right here, and we're looking at the spectrum analyzer. So for screen space, just focusing on what we need to see, and it allows me to make the stream a lot faster so I don't talk over all the tracks and stop and change titles and forget the titles. So. Right there, 106. That thing, that crash, if you could have one of those back at the 30-second thing. Those drums sound great. They're lively and I can feel it. They're kind of subdued in the mix, but they're still like holding the bones of the track. I love how we can see your voice. Nice and clear. You can hear it in the mid-range. I can see it in the spectrum. It's all like... I'm gonna go up a little bit with the bass EQ, which should be a mastering decision, but this kind of music you can have a little heavier low end and be like, and you did a good job to get the kick drum and the sub bass matching, so I can boost up the whole low end and it just gets better with everything. It's not like one sound is out of bounds. You can really jack it in this track, it sounds good. Yeah, totally. This is great. I could feel the mid-range could get compressed a little bit in the mastering process. Not a problem for now. Did that distort out a little bit at the end? It sounded like the guitar went into like an extra crunchy thing at the very, very end.
This is Ice-T, Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Wow, we got Ice-T in the stream. So Jeannie, that track is great. It totally sounds done. It feels like you put a lot of work into it, and it's just totally flowing. I wanted to replay the ending, but we hit an ad, so blah, blah, blah. Shepard is going for a walk. Be back soon. It sounded like the very last sound, the guitar tone faded down and then went like almost like unplugging the guitar out of the amp or something at the very end. Can we get that again? Dishwashing, clothing, laundry, whatever. Let's hear the end of that track. It was like... and then the reverb fades out. That was a great ending. Totally smooth track, and from what I remember, all the other ones in this group have that same kind of feel. Vocal, some synths and guitars all mixed up in the mid-range. You got your voice right up in the front and center on top of the surrounding instruments, so they sound good. And the low end is worked out, and the drum beats are stacked in. Some people could say, oh, push up the drum kit louder to make it more like goof, goof, ksh. But this isn't like boom bap kind of music. It's more like emotional, dreamy. So it's working really well. It's working for me. I don't know. I mean, other people could argue the mix, but this is what I like. So it sounded good. Really good job. And keep us updated on any release notes or anything else going on. Ben Hunt, Walk of Shame Revisited V2. Let's see what we got. EQ is reset and go. This one starts off feeling like bad boys, bad boys. What you gonna do? Okay, so that was at the end of it. The Omnisphere high end going to a reverb. Cool. Nice. Check out the low end with Ben Hunt. Oh, that's cool. You're sending it out next week. That was a nice transition. So Ben made a note there's a simplified bass line right here. It seems to be working. It's like a pulse, you know, it just has to be a low end pulse, keeping the low end anchored. That was me sweeping the EQ. That's what I wanted. Great, the arrangement's totally flowing. It's going through sections and developments. Things are happening. Got the melody that came in. Let's get to the next transition. Really cool sound effects. That delay thing, I don't know what that sound is. I haven't heard it before, and I like it. It's like chow, 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 chow. You could maybe tweak that lead melody sound sonically in this part to make it change a little bit, like filter it with a notch that's sweeping around or glitch it a little bit or something. You don't have to, but yeah, those delays are really cool. What if you just put it into a delay and like muted it and unmuted? Cha, 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 cha. Like get the lead melody doing that? Yeah, the bassline pulse feels a lot more natural now. You can just kind of sit in it. It's taking me like this, like back and forth. Nice and smooth. I love those delay effects. It's like wah, 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 wah. Let's cruise through and see what we get to. Great transition sounds. Oh, now we're at the ending part with the bass and drums though. I like these parts. That arpeggiator synth could be a little louder right now. It's kind of bleepy. Right there, like solidly in the mid-range around 1K, 1000, and 1.5K. This one. I would like those little bleeps louder. Just back here. They have a nice kind of bubbling energy. That could be a little louder. Ending. Did you hear what's happening with the kick drum? It's fading down. It feels like the click is getting quieter and it's like kind of getting, the tone is fading out, like kind of like getting filtered down. I'm gonna guess maybe there's a velocity mapped to low pass filter. So as you hit it lighter and lighter and lighter, the click goes away. Let's just listen to the change in the kick drum at the end to kind of indicate the end of the track. Okay, here it's kind of a bright click, and then it starts going down. It fades down like a soft kick. You can feel the low end is there longer. Yeah, Paul, there's a couple little clicks in the stream. That happens sometimes. It's maybe I got to put it up to processor power at this point because I've tried optimizing everything else. So sorry about that. And everybody, I wish we could play full quality, perfect tracks instead of going through SoundCloud. That might be an option if we were going to get into using Restream and file sharing full wave files, but that's a bit more work for test mixes. So it's kind of a compromise. You want to have fast review quickly or perfect quality review that takes a little bit more time to convert back and forth or, transfer back and forth. Ben, that track is great. That sounds done to me. You fixed the baseline problem. It has a nice low end pulse. One note about the mid-range kind of bleep synth at the end could be a little louder. And I really like what you did with the kick drum. In fact, you could, when that gets into the empty space at the end, if you could even do that sooner where you keep the low end of the kick, but as the track empties out and gets more sparse, take off the click so that like right around here, the click is gone off the kick drum. So it's just a nice round like boop, boop, boop. That might be fun, but not essential. Nothing wrong with that one. It sounds pretty good. So nice job with that. DJ Waters, Nightmare Chance. I'm not sure if y'all are ready for this. Ian had some business to attend to, so I'm not walking. And Shepherds, let me know when you get back. We're gonna run through Nightmare Chance right now, version 2. And Ian's been getting some feedback from some pretty popular people in the Frenchcore genre. Let me turn down my master for this one. All right, great. I like it that you took out those kick drums at the beginning of this beat. Cinematic. Somebody's gonna ask you to do a soundtrack. Watch out, get ready for that. All right, let's see. If I turn up my... Right now, I want to hear the track at this level. Let's see what happens when it kicks in. If the track still feels at the right level when it kicks in, that's going to be a good mix.
See your inner self.
So far, so good.
Witness the new beginning. Welcome to my nightmare.
Good effects on the vocal. Here comes the drop. Ah, look at that. Perfect. I see that right up to the top of my meters, but I didn't change the broadcast level. All right, Ian, your mixes are getting solid, man. Now, I'm not on a massive 20 kilowatt sound system, so I can't really comment on the total effect of the low end and this mix as a whole, but I can tell from the spectrum line, that diagonal line that goes from the lows down with a slope like that, that's what hard techno tracks look like. Oh, look at that. Let's watch that. This is why I love Spectrum. I'm going to give you a lecture. Comparative listening is how you make better mixes. If you don't have a community of people to get feedback from all the time, or you can't get feedback when you want, or you want feedback on a specific mix decision about 3 decibels of kick drum or sub bass or whatever, what you got to do is compare your mixes to other tracks in the same genre. Everybody kind of knows this, but just in case you need to hear it. And I know the people watching probably know this. Tanka, what's up, Jasper? What you do is grab another track that's professionally mixed and mastered, bring it into your Ableton project, send it directly to your master output, and bypass all the effects on it, or like send it directly to your audio interface and even bypass the master channel, and then slap a spectrum analyzer on there and just look at it. You'll notice that house tracks have like a big kick drum, and then kind of a mid-range is like a section below that. It's like a hump on the bottom. Hard techno tracks look like this diagonal line that's like a straight line because everything is squashed right up to the top of its range. And different genres have different curves of what the spectrum looks like and a different amount of dynamic bounce. And it's really interesting. I recommend you copy my spectrum settings that are flashing right here on the screen. Take a screenshot of that. That gives you the fast response so you can put your mouse on the line, see a tone, and then read what's in the little box. You can see the note I was singing was 220 hertz A2. Oh, wow, I was singing the note A. I'm not trying to impress you with my voice. I'm just saying it's really handy to be able to put the mouse on the spectrum line, read the exact frequency in that little box, go to your EQs, dial in that frequency, either boosting it if you want to or cutting it if it's a problem. It totally simplifies your mix process, allows you to find problems and knock them out right away because you can see, you can hear a sound, you can see where it is in spectrum, you can find the frequency number in hertz, and then EQ it. Totally dead simple way to help you mix better. So that's what I recommend you do. And go back and grab those spectrum settings to dial it in. Because believe it or not, Ableton doesn't give you these settings as one of the presets for spectrum. This is like the only useful way that I can find to use spectrum. So that being said, the thing I like about this track so far, Ian Waters, is the intro was awesome and sounded like a cinematic world. It just was great. There was the low end, the impact sound, the choir, whatever. And when I turned up the mix to the level where I liked it to hear all those sounds, I could leave it there. And the kick drum and the hard part came in, and I didn't have to adjust the mix. It wasn't like turning up the intro and then getting just annihilated by way too much level. It was really cool. So let's rewind to this impact sound that comes in at the end of the break, or the end of the kick drum and going into the breakdown. You can see the spectrum go boop. You can see this dive bomb sound go right through there. So let's watch that, listen to this, see what we get. You see that? Went poof, straight down.
Take a look in the mirror. See your inner self. Unleash your demons. Witness a new beginning.
It's gonna be popular for the late night crowd.
To my nightmare.
Nice sounds. Totally flowing right back into it. This is great. And I love that high end. I want to play with the high end of my EQs. It's so buzzy and gritty and like... I like the choir in the background now too. Let's let this roll through to the next little break. Nice rolls. Diggity ding, diggity ding.
Welcome to my nightmare.
Solid. Okay, one thing I'm going to comment on is try to avoid the same exact thing in the same sections. So we had in the previous breakdown around 3 minutes, or sorry, 2:15. It was welcome to my nightmare, and then whoop, and then into the drop. Is that what happened, right?
Come to my nightmare.
Yeah, it might have been like about 8 bars or something. Now let's see where this one came in.
Welcome to my nightmare.
Okay, so it was welcome to my nightmare with a riser, and then the beats came in sooner. That was good. It's good that you didn't make us wait a long time for the beats this time. Yeah, that was a super cool riser. It was like feels like a cinema riser, like a UFO taking off. And I really love the voices swimming around on top of these super hard beats. What a contrast. Let's see how we get out of this one.
My nightmare.
So your nightmare is singing choral a cappella church songs. Ian Waters, clap, clap, clap. I think I say this every week, making a lot of progress, pulling together a crazy world of different sonic palettes and making them fit together. It's not easy, and you're doing a good job with it. And on top of that, throwing it out there in front of a radio audience of internet radio people with like 50,000 listeners with a mix you made yesterday. That's kind of a ballsy thing to do. I appreciate that that's working out, because that's, you never know what's going to happen when you get in front of an audience, but that's working well. Yeah, cool. All right. Jesper, I did not see a track from you. Let me know in the YouTube chat if you put something in on Discord. And last week I told you to do it before we started, please. Let's go into some house jams. We just had a great release come out from Scott Burke, Canada. That was Kinshasa. They came out on Bebop Music, so nice job on that. And we'll hear the Let Go track in a minute. Scott's on the West Coast, so he might be sleeping in his bed instead of coming to track feedback. Let's check out Danat's Funk Odyssey. Gonna push this one up. Does anybody want more low end on this? I'm feeling the kick drum could be bumpier, right? And people watching, type in and let me know, are you listening on headphones or studio monitors or something else? I'm curious where you're listening, because I'm in headphones and I'm hoping somebody has got some big speakers on to let me know. How's the low end sound for you? Oh, Jesper, nothing today. Something about this is giving me an early 90s feel. With the organ sound, the keyboard sound. Good mid-range mix, good mix with the beats. Beats patterns working. I'm gonna give it some low end. Oh, Paul, thank you. Good. So how's the low end sound for you? There, I'm boosting up the bass EQ on the stream. Classic bouncy Danat's feel. One thing I like, let me pause. You know, I hate to pause the music, but a lot of times we hear these chopped up vocals that are, it's not about a word or a singer, it's just a sound. It's a rhythmic little thing. We've mentioned before, it sounds like, you know, old Cassius French house or something like, and it's popping through, and I like that. And I was wondering just before this dropout, I was like, I wonder if that could get filtered a little bit, like that vocal sample. I really like it that it's louder in this track and it's a more important part of the mid-range. The next thing is, could you filter it in a subtle way so it's just like morphing like a little duller and a little brighter with that like resonant low-pass filter? That might be fun. Let's check out where we go. Good reverse crash coming into the drop. Coming into the gap. There's that bouncy bass. Last week we were talking about simplicity, how you can have a bass line, just 2 notes, and it holds it together, right? Oh, that's nice. You mentioned a nice call and effect on the bass line. We were talking about that last week. Oh, Ian Waters, I just played your track, man. We said lots of nice things about it. $1.6K. That little sound. So what I was doing, there was a new sound that was like, "Bow," and I thought that's a great sound. It totally adds to this section. It keeps the rhythm going, but it's a little bit too loud. So I was thinking, where is that sound? What would I do to fix that? And where is it on the spectrum? Looked at the spectrum, and there was a little spike popping up that was exactly at 1.6K. Check that out. Put my mouse on the line, look in the little box, 1.6K. So what I would do with that sound is take a notch, an EQ 8, set one band to notch, go to 1.6, drop the notch right there, and then even turn that sound up. It would stay good. Subtle effect, but mix decisions like that, it's like making a mix is like having 5,000 tiny little subtle decisions to make the difference between a really smooth buttery mix or a whacked out jagged mix. And I also liked how the vocal came out with the delay back there. Right here. That little vocal chop goes into a delay with some reverb. That's super cool. Let's skip forward. All right. More little percussive, rhythmic, melodic elements chopped together. Reverse crash going into the breakdown. Delay effect. What sound is going into that delay? So you want to create a breakdown. What do you do? Reverse crash leading up to it. Very simple, but it's always effective, and it doesn't actually get old. It's like a classic sound, you know? So do that, and then throw one little sound into a delay at the breakdown, and you go into emptiness with an echo. So what sound is happening that gets into the delay? Is it that? It's a combination of the keyboard. Okay. Yeah, could the vocals be slightly louder? Maybe. We were talking about using those as like a rhythmic element that's not like a lead vocal. So yeah, they could be a little bit. Building it back up slow. We got the bass line, we got a hi-hat coming in. I like that. It's like, feels like it's drawing you closer and farther. That's a cool effect. How's that happening? I want to give as many production tips as I can and reverse engineer the tracks that we're playing. And these are things I want to steal everything that you guys are doing and use it in my own music. I had a feeling right now in this breakdown, it's like something's like, the pulse is like come boom, 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 boom. It's like something getting louder and louder and louder in your face and then dropping back away. So the delay is taking a sound and going bum, 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 bum. What's making the pulse that brings us in, right? Close, far, far. Maybe? Yeah. Quiet, loud, quiet, quiet. Quiet, down. Yeah. There's a rhythm. It's like dun 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 dun. And it's going like quiet, loud, quiet, quiet, quiet. Quiet, loud, or I'll do it directionally. Quiet, loud, quiet, quiet, quiet. Quiet, 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 loud, quiet, 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 quiet. Just like a fire truck coming at you going, or I should do like this. I'm being corny today, but seriously, these little tiny things make such a huge effect of pulling you in three-dimensional space. So I'm totally feeling that. And we're keeping on with that. We're gonna get a little transition sound probably. Okay, one thing missing right here is that there is space for a snare drum rush, and we hear a little bit of a snare drum tap, but it should be totally a whole bunch louder, like check it out right here. Yeah, that little snare drum tap should be totally louder to make like an overpowering build that becomes your transition sound. I mean, not overpowering to like kill people, but really make that snare thing a lot louder to really accentuate the drum break that's coming into the drop. What is marijuana? I don't know what she's saying. Okay. And I still have my bass, my low end EQ jacked up a little bit. Just like 2 o'clock on that. Yeah, Paul, I agree. Oh, and a nice long tail on that crash. I love it. I agree. That's kind of what I was thinking, Paul, is like, come in with more energy after the long break. That's exactly what I was thinking when I was saying the snare drum should be louder, is like, okay, we've got a cool break. It had that awesome swell of pulling you in and releasing a little bit. It could use one more sort of like build-up element. And since you're already using a delay on that vocal chop, one thing that's a really good way to create a transition sound is to take something that's already happening in the track and tweak it, amplify it, lengthen it, make it louder, or do something to modify that sound, modulate that sound. So maybe in this situation, you could take the vocal with the delay, have the delay feedback get longer, so the delay builds up and multiplies and goes, and turn up the volume on those snare taps. Would that work? And also there's a little organ stab going, bam, bam. So you could take the rhythm of the snare drum and do the same rhythm with the organ. So it's like, bam, 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 bam. Just double up the rhythm, play those notes more often, and use the keyboard part to amplify what the snare drum is doing to make the build up, to just go make it like that over the top climax. And then when you drop the beat, cut the effects back and let it be a simple thing, because then the low end feels like it hits harder if you cut out some of the mid-range sounds. So the experience of a big drop is like massive buildup beforehand, and when the drop happens, it gets simple. It could be just like, you'll hear this in Jesper's music a lot, those crazy psytrance tracks where the drop happens and all of a sudden you're in this world of crazy bass with like the bass and the click and the kick drum and like one little ticky sound, and all the big swell is like gone, and you're like, which is what everybody loves. So maybe this could be a place at the 535 drop to cut out the vocal after a big swell. So like accentuate the vocal thing in this little buildup. And then right here, maybe like let the delay fade down and cut the vocal sample for 8 bars and just let it be like bass and beats only for a little bit. Just an idea compositionally that's in between sound design and composition. That's one of my favorite things, is creating a climax that is a sound design process, but it becomes an event in the track that's part of your eventually arrangement. Caesar, he's making notes about, oh, a private link didn't show up. Yeah. So Danats, bring that back on Wednesday and let's see what we got. Now, I believe it's time for Paul Robinson. I got to sneeze soon. DJ Waters, I spent ages tossing around with crashes that sometimes you won't even hear on a PA. Well, a crash that you can't hear is better than a crash that's so loud it makes your ears bleed. Paul Robinson, let's see what we got. Reset EQ. Okay. I like how it comes in right off. Oh, Shepard's good. We did not play your track yet. Yeah, Paul, this comes in with a nice balanced mix. I felt like I was hearing mids and lows all together. I'll stop talking. This is great. So the first thing I like is that there's a little bounce in the harmony, and it's like a down, boom, 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 boom. A little bit of like a tiny little chord progression, like a cycle, and then we get those massive kick drums by themselves. That was just fun. All right, good. So I just saw the kick drum, spotted it right at like 50 hertz, and the bass line's popping up above it in the 60s. So feeling the kick and bass are in their own space. Super energetic with that fast shaker. bass line come down a little bit, kick drum up just a little bit. That bass line is almost overpowering the kick drum. Okay, I gotta turn down the master here, hold on. Turning up my headphones. This part is cool, man. This is what I was talking about, a big, simple break. Kick drum, bass, beats. Done. It sounds kind of like a jungle breakbeat that's straightened out into 4/4. Oh, nice. I'm totally in the groove on this. Not in the groove on this keyboard. Ah, I like that. Shepherds, what kind of speakers are you listening on? Are you on a big sound system or monitors? I'm just curious how you hear it, because I'm in headphones. All right, wait. What is the sound? Right there. Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. There's like a little mid-range thing. I'm loving this. That sub bass is so gooey. You can almost see that the sub is a little bigger than the kick though. If you could just get that sub down and kick up a little bit, freaking amazing. Drum breaks keep changing, keeps it interesting. Maybe a little bit of a tight drum reverb. I can almost tell, but it feels like the drums are maybe a little dry. Like a little bit of a drum reverb around that might help. I like that. Mid-range synth building up, super cool. That one. I like that beep. 888. Look at that, you can see the shakers right on top. Okay. There's a really cool effect happening in there. There's a little drum break and it goes and backs it up, like reverses it. If that could be louder, that would be better, I think. Yeah, right there. I don't know if that's on a separate audio track or something, but I would seriously take that drum break and that reverse thing, put it on a separate audio channel, and turn it up louder, compress it harder, maybe even saturate it a little bit so it clearly jumps out through the mix and is like a different sonic level than the drum break that it's coming from. That way it'll work as a transition sound. Yeah, it has a trance style. Yeah, it has a trance style feel of like that slow build-ups and like driving pulse. Nice and hypnotic. Kind of buttery mid-range too. There's nothing too bright. The bass line has like a grinder like on the top. This is a fun track. Where's Morton Mindbender? This is a Mindbender world. Good change in the percussion. Wow, it's almost 5 minutes. I didn't even notice that this track is just cruising along. So good. What is it about the end of a track where it simplifies and turns into just kick, bass, and a simple layer of beats? Less is totally more at the ending. I want to just go back a couple seconds and ask the question, how many percussion layers are in, right when I made a comment about 5 minutes, it's still interesting, I'm not bored, whatever. There's a bunch of percussion in there, and then we get to this moment and the percussion drops out and it gets better. You know when you're making beats, you're like, oh, this beat's good, but if I add another layer of cracking hi-hats, it's gonna get better. And it does, you know, you add in a hi-hat, add in an open hi-hat, open ride, whatever, it does get better. But then at the end of the track, it's the craziest thing that when you subtract those layers, the song doesn't get boring or worse, it continues getting better because it's like fresh and sort of focuses you on the low end. Blah, 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 let's listen. A new snare comes in, and the fast hi-hat dropped out. High frequency fast hi-hat dropped out. Okay, that I would leave that out until the end of the track. I think at this point we've heard it a lot, and the track got super cool when it came in with the snare drum and that high frequency thing dropped out. So I don't think you need to bring that back. Right here, this is so solid. Maybe if you're gonna bring back in one of the synths. Yeah. Okay, another synth layer came in right there. I don't think you need the fast hi-hat right here. Or the shaker. That new bright hi-hat is cool though. You got a lot of good percussion layers. Oh, good. Those bass filters are awesome. To be super picky, at this ending part, you could get rid of that tiny little snare drum that's going kshk, kshk, and just let that bass pulse and synth be cool right here. Right here, you don't need that little tap. Because just the pulse. Doop, 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 doop. And give us a longer tail. So cut out the little percussion thing, let that tail really go a long time, like dun 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 bum 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 bum. That little rhythm with that synth part is so cool. When I'm DJing, I want to mix that totally over the intro of another track. So give us like another 8 bars of that pulse, and then when it stops, let the reverb just die down for a long time if there's a delay happening. Yeah, that's super cool. Paraverse, exactly. The percussion layers change really often, makes it very diving. You go diving and driving, maybe not at the same time, but, or if you're driving a submarine. I mean, these are questions we need to answer in our lives. Paul, this might be my favorite track I've heard from you. Let's just go back to the beginning and listen. How did we get into this super cool music? Okay. First thing I noticed, I remember when I first started playing the track, I said, yes. The instant I heard it, I was like, it feels full and complete, like ding, ding, ding. But now that I know where it's going and how it develops, I think you could leave the percussion out for the beginning because the pulse of the synths really carries it, right? Imagine we got no hi-hats right here. Kick drum and the bounce of the synths. In fact, I think you could cut the kick drum and the opening beats for like a while, because then they will sound better when they drop. Imagine we got no beats, it's just the synth. That would work up till here. You're hinting at the bass with those filters, so that's good. Let's say that was about 16 bars, bringing in the bass line. Like maybe you could have one shaker in right now, but not the kick drum and not the hi-hat. Right Right there. That's where the kick drum comes in. Seriously, keep the kick drum out until 29 seconds because the quality of the synth and the bass and the pulse and the rhythm are totally enough to carry the intro of the track. And don't bring in all the hi-hats, but around that middle part where the shaker came in. So what I would cut is the hi-hat that's going tss, tss, that open hi-hat. Don't have that at all until like 29 seconds. The first percussion sound could be the kind of rattly shaker. Right there at 15. That really sounds like an egg shaker. So we'd come in with synths first, and then synths with bass, and then synth bass and egg shaker. That's enough to take you out to 30 seconds. And then when you have that big kick drum bump, I remember I reacted to that. I was like, whoa, that's crazy. Then we're getting the message that the kick is going to drop, and it's going to drop heavy. And then it comes in. Dude, that's a fun track. And these drum taps, the way the beats keep changing and it's like big and empty and simple, there's space in the mix. Percussion keeps changing, keeping it interesting. Boom, boom. I made a note about the sub bass. You gotta watch the low end of that sub and just keep the kick drum prominent. The sub can be big, but maybe just sidechain duck the sub a little bit better with the kick, or take the sub bass down just a little bit so the kick is really oof, oof, and the sub is kind of around it. And we heard yeah, that was the sub by itself. Did we get the bass line by itself? Okay. No. Yeah, I like it that we can find moments in the track where the sub bass is clearly defined and the kick drum is clearly defined. That shows us where each one is happening. So it should be, I think you have your mix under control enough that you could bring the sub down, keep the kick up, and keep it working. Make some changes, new version coming soon. Yeah, and these are all pretty minor tweaks. I mean, none of this stuff is like major reconstruction, just a little less of this, a little more of that. And that track's ready to go, and I'll buy a copy of that one. Now, Scott Burke, who continues to... I was hoping he'd show up to hear this, but let's go. I want to give Scott some props on his, I think it was his first release of a single on Bebop Records, Kinshasa, the track we've been hearing for a couple of weeks. He cut out some parts, simplified it, made it sound great. It's up, it's done, it's awesome, it's on Beatport. So good job on that. Let's check out Let Go. Check that out, indicating the rhythm with little double kick drum bumps. Ga-dum-dum. What's growing that makes it feel like something's building up? I want to go back to the intro in a minute because something was like imperceptibly growing to make it. Yeah. Okay, comment number 1. Something was imperceptibly growing and making the intro build up, and I don't know how, but it felt really cool. And number 2, how is it that every week we get a theme that pops out from the combination of tracks, and today it seems like the theme is like jungle breakbeat type sounds of drum loops over 4/4 beats, and they're chopped up to be straight, like what was that? With that jingly kind of tambourine sound and the snare taps. I'm going back to the beginning. What is building up? Kick drum, reverb. Count the sounds. There's a low thing. That sounds like plucking the headstock of a guitar. That's that bass sound. Woo, woo, woo. Looks like a B flat. Okay, it's that low bass drone coming up. Woo, woo, woo. And like before, when I was talking about that forward and backward sense, something that's low volume kind of ramping up feels like it's getting closer, you know, like approaching through distance. Yeah, Paul, I think I got shocked by that vocal too. It's gonna come in now and like, it was a little bit like, whoa. Yeah, that vocal comes in too loud. I love the drum taps. The mix feels really good right here. Right there you can see where the voice popped up and kind of a little too loud in the mids. I like the swell on that chord. Whoa, whoa. That's super good. I think he commented in Discord he was going for like a 90s rave kind of sound. Yeah, the vocal feels mid-rangey, you know, it's like loud in a place where we're sensitive to it, so it doesn't have to be that loud to come through clearly in that frequency range. I like how it announced this new synth. Little blippy synth. Yeah, the wavy synth, the wow, wow, wow. I like the delay and the vocal treatment though. That sounds good as a sound. Nice filter work on the synths. Subtle but moving around a little bit. I'm ready for that melody lead to drop out. Okay, right about here, that sound that's the highest frequency one, to me it sounds like plucking the strings on the headstock of a guitar above the nut? What's that? Oh, you know what I'm talking about. When it sounds really, really high frequency, those are going on for a long time and I'm ready for them to drop out. So I think if you cut those right there. Yeah, the bridge and the nut, above the nut. Like around 3 minutes. Down, down, down. I think you could give that high frequency sound a break right here. Let us kind of sink down. Shepherds, you want more kick drum? Could be, could be. Nice. Okay, we got a transition happening where he developed the transition by cutting out sounds, which is cool because up until now today we're talking about making a transition by adding in sounds, making the drums louder, making stuff modulate and sweep up and become this like, but instead of that, it's like, hey, let's get it a dramatic moment by cutting stuff out. So I'm just gonna roll it back and ask the question, what sounds are in, what gets cut out, and why does that work? Drum beat. Basically, you just cut out the drum beat in the kick and then brought it back in. Oh, I like this. Oh, good. We have that mid-range swell and the melody one is gone. Perfect, perfect. I like these bouncy, flippy synths. Good rhythm. Now the voice actually kind of sounds okay. I'm not sure why that's different. Why is that? Yeah, the vocal's close. It's almost perfectly right in there, but just was a little too, when it first entered, it was like too loud compared to what we heard already. So you might be doing some vocal automation on there, bro. The mic on my forehead is there so you can hear me. There, how's that? Yeah, synths are really good. When I run out of suggestions, I look at stuff that could cut out. So in this ending section, I'm hearing a bass line that's like a wow, wow, wow. That's not the sub bass, it's like the lower mid bass. I'm wondering if that could get, if that was here earlier in the track and if we could cut it out. So let me just roll back to the beginning. Okay, right there at the intro, it's coming in. It's like a wow, wow, wow. Is it possible, Scott, at the end to have only the sub part of that bass thing and just filter it down to like 150 hertz or below so we don't have that such a mid-range tone on that? That way at the end right here, we could have that super simple stripped down feel of like one blippy synth, kick drum beats, and sub without the wall, wall, wall. So I'd be looking to keep the 116 hertz level, filter it down to like 125 with a low pass filter, just for some sonic variation. Because that bass has a lot of high frequency right here. There. Okay, Scott telepathically did what I was thinking of in the future, no, in the past, and it just happened in the track. That's super cool. The bass line lost the bite of high frequency and smoothed out and became muffled towards the very end, kind of like we heard with the kick drum track before. So question is, could you do that thing with the bass line a little bit sooner? Let's listen to how it changes here. That part is so perfect because we have the kick drum, the sub together, the ARP synth or whatever that is, beep, 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 on top. And they're all in their own space. And it's like a really big, just very simple and clear. Like here's the sub, here's the synth, take it out to the end. So what would happen if we took the bass line back earlier and muffled it down? Let's just imagine that sonically. Like if you start slowly ramping that bass line top end down, we'd have clear, crisp breaks on top, the synth and a wide stereo field blipping, sub on the bottom. I think the mix would work. Oh, the mic is gone. All I did was move it off to the side a little bit. Thanks for that. Okay, maybe right here at 503, take the bass line down. This part is where it sounds perfect. And the reverb tails test. Nope, failed. Longer tail on the delay. Yeah, crank the feedback on that delay. Even if it hasn't been a long delay before, at the end of the track, I do this probably all the time. At the moment the last sound hits, when there's a sound going into the delay at the end of the song, right at that moment, I go to my my delay return, take the feedback of the delay, and change it from like 65% up to like 95 or something, so that the last sound goes da ba da ba da ba da and echoes and just keeps going like an obnoxiously long time. Because remember, you can always fade that down or get rid of it in mastering if it really takes too long. But in a situation like this where the delay kind of bounces down and stops all by itself, suddenly you're like, oh, the track just stopped. I wanted more to mix with. It sucks when you're DJing and you think you have a long fade down tail, and then the last track is like dead, and you're like, oh, time to put up the new mix. I'm always a fan of making the outro longer than you think it needs to be, because it's you can always pull it down and get rid of it. And then if you're making an album where you have to go like with a 2-second gap between tracks, then you go to your mastering and you're like, yeah, I cut the tail on this one. But keep the tails in general. Everybody, deet, deet, deet. And last little topic is, what are we going to talk about with his voice? I want to hear at the end of the song, the vocal popped up, and it sounded good to me, but at the beginning of the song, the vocal popped up, and it was surprising because I wasn't expecting it. So I want to just compare those two, little A-B vocal shootout thing happening. Gemex, thank you for the feedback on my mic and placement. I think that was just laziness. I didn't take the time to tweak it and put it in the right place. But the advantage is here that is, this is some audio engineering. When you're miking a sound, the human voice, there's a lot of resonance in your nasal cavity and your nose. So a lot of time you get better sound with the mic a little bit above your face, above the singer's face, pointing down at their mouth. Lemmy did this in Motorhead. You can get a really clear sound that way, and what it lets happen is all the air comes out. If you have the mic, when people talk like this and they kind of talk down into the mic, you get like all the air, all those pee pops, all that like kind of gross wet mouth noises and breathing goes right into the mic when you're talking like this. So if you're public speaking, it's actually better not to hold the mic like a cup of coffee. Hold it like this, like an MC, and just talk like that. It looks weird, but it sounds better. Mic placement is a whole world. Now we're going to go to the A-B voice. I'm chopping around all different ideas, but I like to just share what's techniques I'm using that could help you. Paraverse, give me a shout out on the mic placement. Okay, vocal at the end of the track for Scott Burke. Focus. Where are you? Did I miss her? Okay. You know what I'm going to suggest is taking that vocal and repeating it a few times on the way leading up to that moment, so we hear it come from quieter and ramping up. Is that coming in right there? Like that. Take the first note and repeat it a few times from quieter getting louder. So bum 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 bum. Would that work? Maybe. Something where if you could take the voice, the same exact voice, the same note or a little chopped up little slice of it, and just let us start hearing it before it comes in at the full level, and just repeat it like almost not like a glitchy stutter, but like a quarter note, like dum bum bum bum. That might make it easier to absorb it when it comes in at full volume. Ba, ba, ba. Yeah, now that we've heard the whole track and I hear the voice, it sounds okay. I got used to it. But at the very beginning, we weren't used to it. So what I would do in this one is maybe filter it down with a low pass filter so it's a little bit muffled and a little far away. Possibly do something to repeat it and fade it in slowly and just kind of get us used to the hot bath water before we get our whole butt in the bath water. Because there's that moment when you're in the bathtub and if it's too hot, you know it. The sweet tones of Lemmy singing. Yeah, I hear you. Cool, Scott, great track. And my favorite thing is that you did take out the high-pitched, plucky sound right here. 3.5 minutes. There were like two things that I wanted to have happen as I was listening, and you did them. They happened. The high, plucky thing dropped out, and then at the end, the top end of the bass line got filtered down. So both of those things are super cool, and both of them I think could happen a little bit earlier. So I made notes that the top and plucky thing could maybe drop out somewhere in that breakdown area so we don't hear it for quite as long into the track. And then we talk about the bass line at the end. So great music, man. Good job. Get this one done. And I have a feeling you're going to have like 6 tracks up for release before the end of the year. Sheppers, you here? Are you walking your dog? Tell us the answer because we're playing your track. EQs reset. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. We got a couple more, and let's see your Shepherds. Crushing it. Let me take this down just a little. Sounds like you took out the low mid-range of that scratchy sound like we were talking about. That's good. You just grabbed me. See that? Like, yep, picked up on it. Caesar, are you watching? I'm looking at... If you're here and we can play Dream About, I'll try and grab it. I know, Shepherds, I'm talking on top of your track. So far, so good. Nice space on this one. It's like heavy and deep. The Shepherds transitions are the best. Yeah, this sounds good. The kick is right in there. Yeah. Nice hi-hat comes in. I'm gonna go up to the high end right now. That's probably too much, but I think it could use a little high end. So that's a high shelf boost just to like 2 o'clock on my EQ. Love that kick drum, yeah. I gotta stop and give Shepherds the Transition Sound Award. That sounded like... What was that? Sick transition sounds, man. Perfect for the genre. Totally unique. I haven't heard that exact sound before, and it just works so well to take this from a dark, heavy track to like a little... There's like a little bright thing. It's like... It's great. I think this one's done. I'm not... We got to check it on a big system and all that, but... From what I'm getting in the headphones and the vibe, it's feeling good. Okay, DJ Waters, more often kick breaks, right? Break up the monotony? Could be. I remember hearing this on techno records like in the early 2000s. That kind of a rhythm. This has like a classic techno kind of feel with more of the rumble in the low end. Yeah. Yeah, man. This is solid. All right, still changing. One more time, what's that? My ears might be a little sensitive because I had a little bit of a sore throat and ear pressure the last couple of days. But I want to go to that breakdown and I'm going to take my mid-range EQ, boost it up, cut it down a little bit. And I'm thinking, can we have the volume increase of that transition without the kind of like high mids? And that could be just me, but I'm always really thinking about like what's happening at 3 kilohertz in a track, every track in the world. What's happening between 2.5 and 4K, because our ears are really sensitive to that. And if you have something that's like a loud event, like a crash or something in that frequency range, it's going to be a problem on a big system. Even 1.6K could be kind of weird. So let me just rewind a little bit. I'm going to EQ and see what we get. Okay, I did a little dip at this frequency. Right now, I just did a dip. It's kind of a minor dip, but it makes a difference when you're at a peak moment like this. Just to take down a little bit of that tinny, screechy frequency. And now while we're on the topic, I'm gonna boost up the low end. Gotta give the Sheps some low end love. Yeah, man, this track I think this one's ready for mastering. Again, where are we? At the end of the track. Bass, kick, simple, click. That's all you need. Total head nod certified. I'm checking Discord right now, just making sure I didn't miss any comments. Caesar, did you upload? Are you here? Did you get us a new link? Not seeing. No. Dream about. Does that come up? Even right there, we need a couple more seconds of reverb tail. You did let it decay for a while, which was good, but there was a moment where it was and dropped off a cliff. I say this every week, and I don't want to be a one-trick pony, but let your reverb tails extend until you think everybody's bored to death, and then wait 3 seconds, and then press stop on your recording. Or with live, just drag your loop brace like another 4 bars past where the end of it that you think it is. Because it makes a difference, and you never know when the mix you export could be the final mix that's so good it gets mastered and you can play it. So just don't remove that possibility. That's going to be it for today. It's almost 1:30. Thanks everybody for hanging out. DJ Waters out of here. Jesper, yup. Gemex, Jeannie, Paul Robinson, and the Shepherds. Yeah, thanks everybody for hanging out. I'm super glad that we get to do this, and I'm glad I made it today. The last couple of days, I don't know, the weather got cold here in Pittsburgh, and I was still mountain biking, like hitting it hard. Then these 2 days, I got really sweaty, and it was cold. And then I was like, oh, am I getting a sore throat? My ears were all pressurized. So I went to bed, and I slept in my bed. And now I'm here doing track feedback. So thanks for hanging out. Let's get some new versions up in Discord. Mindbender, if you're watching this replay, I'm going to have stems for you on that mix of the crunch bass track as soon as possible, maybe by next week. And you're welcome for the tips. And everybody else, what we're doing here in screen share. Okay, I know this is at the very end, but whoever's still watching on the replay, what we are doing is track feedback. This is the Track Feedback Crew. We started on Facebook sharing links to new releases or works in progress. And that was fun. And then the next thing was like, I wanted to give people feedback, but I wanted it to be useful. So I started using timestamps and saying specific comments like, hey, right here at 1.5 minutes, you should have the kick drum with a crash or whatever. And that worked because it allows people to listen, find a moment where something needs to change, and make the edit in their track. So we're connecting the feedback to the actual session. And then we got more specific and we said, hey, your sound design is cool, but the song is boring. or not boring, but needs to change more often. Or we'd say like, oh, the sound and the structure are cool, but the mix needs some work. So we developed like 3 basic areas of sound design, song structure, and mixing to give feedback on. And the combination of focusing on those 3 areas using timestamps just makes a laser beam, surgical, precise feedback that can be really supportive and helpful and positive and constructive at the same time as pointing out specific things that need to get fixed. So that all happened over the last 3 years doing weekly track feedback. And then what it turned into was too many tracks to handle on Facebook. And the comments were getting all huge, long threads, and people were getting mixed up. It was hard to find the tracks. It was hard to actually find comments on your track. So we said, look, let's move over to Discord and make genre-specific track feedback. And what that looks like is over here on the left sidebar, you can see the feedback world, and we've got channels, DNB, downtempo. For example, inside the world, the genre of downtempo, we've got song names, where each song gets its own thread. So the person can post their track, see the comments, make use of the comments, and they're all organized in their own thread. Like on Facebook, you get one big nested thread of like, and if you're trying to find something from 2 days ago, you got to scroll for like 5 minutes to get down to it. That whole problem is solved. And on top of that, you can get feedback from people who produce the same style that you do. So if you're a house producer, you can come into the house genre, listen to all these tracks and be like, I get it. I know what to expect. I know what they're going for. I know what the audience is expecting, and give feedback relative to that world. And that really helps a lot too. Like with psytrance. I mean, psytrance and techno, the average person on the street is going to say it's all, techno or whatever. But there's some really big differences in structure, sonic treatment, expectations, how long is the breakdown. So it really helps to have producers who are specifically giving each other feedback based on that genre. And this is happening on Discord, which is a free program you can download and join the Mixitecture Discord server, get into the public channels for news and chat and stuff. But if you want to get into the feedback crew, this is a special monthly subscription. And the reason is we only want people who are actually making edits, making tracks, and giving each other feedback. So you can't just show up and get feedback for free and then, never come back. It's a commitment to doing the work, updating the tracks, using the comments that you get, and giving other people comments. And remember, you don't have to be a mastering engineer or a pro mixer to give valuable feedback. What you have to do is listen in your own environment, use timestamps, give feedback that is meaningful and helpful, and make suggestions from what you hear personally. And if you just think, oh, this section went on a little too long, I wanted it to change, that's helpful because the person making the track is going to be used to it and they're not quite able to hear it for the first time in a fresh way. So just having a fresh perspective in a different listening environment on different speakers automatically means you can give good feedback to other producers. And it's helpful and it's encouraging. It's just fun when you post a link, people give you feedback and you're like, yes, I get to do it. So if you want to get in the Track Feedback Crew, what you do is come to the Mixitecture member site, courses.mixitecture.com, and you click into Track Feedback Crew. You can learn more about it. And this is cool. This is the Mixitecture member site that you're looking at. And there's a lot more than just Discord. We have modules in here. There's instructions, a whole list of mixing and mastering engineers who you can get in contact with when you want some help with your tracks. There's a list of record labels from friends of ours, of people who we know in the group who run small digital labels. And you can contact them and send them a mix and say, hey, what do you think? Is this ready for release? Does it need something else? Whatever. There's a list of people doing radio shows, DJ Waters, where you can find a place to get your music out into a stream. Or if you're doing mix sets and radio shows or internet radio or Twitch or whatever, you can just, hey, tell us like, hey, I'm doing a show. Can you put me in this section? And people can come there, find your show, listen to it. You get some new listeners. Maybe they send you tracks and you get some new music to play. It's all about the community, the network, supporting each other and boosting people to go all the way through the process to getting your tracks ready for release and releasing them and doing something with them. So that's what it's all about. And then there's the replays archive with interviews and stuff like that. So when you're ready to sign up, you click the green button, sign up here, and it's a monthly subscription, and there are some coupon codes available to knock it down cheaper than that. And for Black Friday, we're going to have some special offers coming in. But I just wanted to let you know the Track Feedback Crew is where you go to become part of this super supportive Ableton production community and get your tracks done. And while you're at it in the Mixitecture member site, there's some fun stuff you can do. You can sign up for free presets to get some Ableton instruments and devices. Caesar comment, okay. Free effects racks, mix tools, instruments, sign up for the free presets, drag them into a project, make a new track, share it, tag us with it, and let us know what you're doing. and then some other courses and stuff that I'll tell you more about as our Black Friday sales develop. It is that time of year, and I want to make my stuff available for everybody to sign up, get some new lessons, learn how to do better sound design, better song structure, and better mixing, especially the mixing part. So watch out for that in the coming weeks. And what is DJ Waters doing tonight? A live set in front of real people. What? Got a night off from the radio. Now I get to see the pain on their faces when I play my shit. Playing a live set is going to tell you for sure when your tracks are boring and when they don't sound right. But I know your stuff is sounding really good. So can you make a phone video, or can you have somebody like film, 45 seconds of people going crazy at your show? I'm curious to see what that looks like. DJ Waters. All right, so that's going to be it for me. No, not that. Back to camera land. Here we go. I'm Steve Knotts. Thanks for watching Track Feedback, everybody. It's Saturday, and I'll see you in Discord. All right, thanks a lot. Bye.